Hey guys, I'm Doug Massey, and today I'm going to share with you exactly what you may need to do to get a release agreement signed by your upline, by the people that are holding your contract. And the reason I made this video was because I know a lot of agents tend to, try working with one insurance agency, and then for whatever reason or another, the next thing you know, they're looking at another insurance agency. And this is an issue that we see a lot. One of the first things that I do want to mention is that you should probably be aware of multi-level marketing insurance agencies, as the simple fact is most of them won't want to release you. Now, I can't mention any names. Really, that's up to you to do your due diligence because you may or may not be with them. But I will tell you this. Most of them have like 4 initials or 3 initials. The bigger companies have 3 initials. It's kind of messed up because some of them, if you ask them, what's the deal with releasing? What if things don't work out? Can you release me? And some of them will tell you, no, we don't release contracts. They'll be upfront. Others will actually say they will. And then later on, you'll find that it's just not very easy to get them to sign it when literally all they have to do is sign it. But there's more to it than that, and that's what we're going to get to. So first, I'm going to ask you, please give this video a thumbs up, a like, and if you're new to our channel, subscribe. We're putting out new content every single week. If you'd like a copy of the warning page that we use, and we mail this out to the clients that we sell over the phone, and if you're doing face-to-face sales, it's great to put that with every single policy that you sell. Just stick around to the end of the video. Now, let me share with you my first experience needing a release agreement. So it was years ago. I was a Hartford agent. I was not happy with some things that were going on at the office. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to leave them and go try to do this on my own. I started looking online and I found one of those 3 initial, it was like back then they were this, so we're talking 14, 15 years ago. They were like the big company at the time. And it's funny because some of the largest multi-level marketing insurance agencies actually came from them and from their system. As a matter of fact, I give you a story within a story. The biggest one out there actually sued that agency, that multi-level marketing organization, because they didn't want to release them. And now it's crazy. They're doing similar things with their agents. I found this company online. My thing was I was selling mortgage protection and I needed leads. Of course, you need leads. And I wanted as many fresh leads as I could get. I was willing to pay $40 or $50 per lead if I can get at least maybe 10 to 15 of those every single week. I reached out to this company. I can't say they came to me. I went to them and they said, Doug, we can get you more leads than you can ever use. And I was like, yes. Now the commission level was really low. I mean, I started at a 55% commission level, but I knew I could sell. So as long as I had fresh leads, it wouldn't be an issue. A couple months later, all I had gotten were regurgitated leads. And so I'm calling them saying, hey, when do I start getting the new leads? And they were like, well, we don't really have that many. There's a limited supply, but we're working on that. So meanwhile, I actually went to their convention, and which ended up being this pep rally where they basically did everything they could to brainwash me and everyone there into working their program, which consisted of mainly working aged recycled leads. I was not happy. I was pretty upset. I got back home. I finally got in my first new lead. I got 1 new lead. Great. I worked it. I'm not sure if I sold it or not. I think I actually did. For some reason, I think I actually did or came close to, or whatever the issue was. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is I only had the 1 lead, and here I am calling these recycled leads over and over, getting yelled at over and over and over and over, trying to set appointments with leads that were already worked and then worked again and then potentially worked multiple times over and over and over by different agents. Finally, it got to the point to where I couldn't put up with it any longer. I got the 1 new lead. I was about 3 months into the business and that was it. I had had enough. So of course I called the upline. I said, listen, you promised me leads. I know maybe I wasn't specific about fresh leads, but working recycled leads is not what we do. That's not how this works. And he tried to convince me that's exactly how it worked. And I was like, no, that's not the promise you made. You told me I'd be able to get as many leads as I could handle. And I'm pretty sure that I was clear about these leads having to be fresh. Either way, they wouldn't release me. So I'm hemming and hawing, can't get a release. So I got a bunch of carriers that I want to write elsewhere. I had to go 6 months without writing them. And that was the bottom line. Needless to say, inadvertently, things did work out. But that's really my story. Now, let me just say, I had another one. Years later, I was already in a final expense. I was already, producing at a very, very high level, and I wanted to try Medicare. I signed up with a company. There was literally no training column, nothing at all. And Medicare, those of you who know how Medicare works, it's a little bit complicated. About a year and a half later, I found another agency that said they were willing to train me. And so I needed a release for the contracts. I only had a couple contracts at the time. So I called the old FMO and said, hey, I need this release, man. Can I get the release? They were like, no, we don't release agents. That's when things changed. That's when I had enough. And I will tell you, I'm going to share you how I did it, but I did get a release the next day. Before we get into that, let me just say, in my opinion, the main thing you need to do is avoid contracting with multi-level marketing insurance agencies from the start. They literally do, the only value to me that they actually have is that they do those pep rallies. They do those shows. They put on the big show so that they can recruit you. If you're a recruiter, that will help you. And to me, that's the only value. Literally, if you're recruiting, they'll help you with recruiting because of the show, because they're going to put on performance and they're going to do the brainwashing for you. To me, not something I would do, not the ethical way to do it, but that actually is how it's done in our industry and with a lot of agencies. So let's say you find a legitimate, a non-MLM insurance agency or IMO, something like ours. One of the things that I would recommend doing is speaking with them over the phone about their release policy in case things don't work out. There's no guarantees. If things don't work out, will you release me? Speak with them about it, but then send them an email. I'm just sending this verification email so that I have something in writing. Please verify that as long as I have no unsecured debt, that you will release me if things don't work out. Get it in writing. Once you have it in writing, now at least you've got something that you can fight with later if they change their mind or if there are issues with the release agreement. So let's say you're with the agency and for whatever reason, whether things don't work out or you want to go somewhere else, you want to get that release agreement signed. The first thing that I would recommend doing is, and this is important, is to contact every carrier that you have with that agency and ask that carrier, and this is where it gets simple and it really makes a lot of sense and it's going to make it easier for you. Have them sends you an email that verifies, it's got to be from the carrier, that verifies that you have no unsecured debt. In other words, that the sales that you've made will cover any debt that you have through months 10, 11, and 12. As long as you have no unsecured debt, there's no reason for them not to release you, as long as the new insurance agency will accept any potential debt. And that's what we have to do. That's what you're going to see from the legitimate insurance agencies. Every single carrier, have them send you the email. Now, when you go to your upline and say, listen, things have been great. Unfortunately, I'm going a different direction. I need you to please release my contracts. Oh, I'm going to send you an email that shows that I have no unsecured debt from every single carrier. Can you please get that signed for me today? Guys, it literally, once they have the evidence, they don't have to call the carriers and verify that you don't have any debt. And that's very, very important, because if you call me, let's say you're one of my agents and you're writing business and you say, Doug, I need a release. Well, there's two ways I'm going to tell you to go about it. Either when I have time, I'm going to get on the phone and spend my time. And this takes time, because think about it, you're on hold with the carriers. I need to verify with each carrier that you have no unsecured debt. But if you do that for me, I'm signing the form right now. It's literally a couple of signatures. It's the easiest thing in the world for us to do. And you're released on the same day. What if the agency doesn't want to release you? What if they're just making it more complicated than it sounds? So a week's gone by, they're blowing you off. This is what we normally see. And now you're like, hey, enough is enough. This is where you have to have a little bit of thick skin. At this point, your goal should be to become a thorn in their side. You want to be that splinter that they just want to get rid of. They just want to get that thing gone. And by doing this, you're going to basically call them and email them every day. Hey, I need the release. Why aren't you released? Text them everything. Like, drive them nuts. That way they actually want to get rid of you. What if they're still not releasing you? Okay, so this is where it kind of gets ugly. This is the issue that I had with that health insurance company. And what I simply did was I told him, listen, you need to release me. You didn't give me any training. There was no value in what you gave me, and I don't know what to do. I have someone that will train me, and I just need you to release me. He's like, well, we just don't release. That's just not our how we do things. I decided I wasn't going to take it. I said, all right, look. And by the way, I was prepared for this call. I explained to him that what I'm going to do is this. If you don't release me within 24 hours, because you know I wrote no business, there's no reason for you not to release me. If you do not release me within 24 hours, I am going to go on to every forum, public forum, every insurance forum. I'm going to go to rip off reports. I'm going to put your name out there and make sure that everybody knows that if they do business with you and things don't work out, that you will hold them hostage in an unethical manner. The next day, I got the release. Big surprise there, because nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants to be bashed, whether it's true or false, right? Nobody likes that. To me, if they're doing something unethical, you can't just make the threat. You got to be willing to go through with it. And I was. At that time, I was ready to go on rip off report and say some really bad things about what they were doing. Guys, I hope you got something out of this video. In the event where you need a release, it really should not be that complicated. Like I said, the main things are, do you have debt? And some agents, it's real easy. If you went with an agency and then you realize you're not liking some things and you just want to get released, look, the releasing thing, it can be a bit of a pain in the butt if the agency has to go and verify with each carrier that you don't have debt. So if you just do that for them, it's going to make it so much easier. They have no excuse not to release you immediately. For a copy of that warning page that I mentioned earlier, just shoot me an email at doug@ufesonline.com. If you'd like more information on our final expense remote sales platform, or if you want to do face-to-face sales, you can still do that. It's pretty hard nowadays. It's not easy the way it used to be. But go ahead and reach out to me at that same email address. Remember, when you put the needs of your clients first, everything else will usually fall right into place. Now get out there or get on that phone and do something good for someone today. Happy hunting.